Ouch.
I'm the one who has to feel bad. I'm the actual nurse sitting here who didn't.
That's true. You have a legal obligation.
No. Good Samaritan law doesn't require.
You're supposed to pound on the chest, not the face.
No. If God called you home, I am no person to get in the way.
Oh, nice.
All right, it is 1 o'clock and we are here for the board to complete deliberation. I didn't pop the file, just a second here. On file S0005-24. So this is one where Director Gabel wasn't here, but we completed, went through the hearing, we deliberated, and we are here for the board to go through our worksheet together. All right, so I think we're going to call for a conflict of interest again. So does the board have any conflicts of interest on this file?
Commissioner Domke has none.
Commissioner Corn has none.
Commissioner Williams has none. So first option, Idaho Code 676513 subdivision.
I suggest we come back to this one and leave it for last, because in order to show that we can comply with this, we've got to show that we comply with Bonner County Revised Code applicable sections.
Okay. Commissioner Corn, any issue with doing it that way?
No, that's fine.
All right. Next section is application process general provisions. 12-268. Does any board member find that it is not in compliance with that section?
I find that it's in compliance.
Agreed.
Okay.
I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section.
Okay. Next section, 1216.b, conformance with BCRC Title 12.
I'm sorry, is it 12-610?
610B.
Okay.
Conformance with BCRC Title 12, minimum lot size required is 10,000 for suburban district where all urban services are available. Minimum lot size required is 20,000 square feet for suburban district where only urban sewer is available. Minimum lot size required is 1 acre for suburban district where only urban water is available. Minimum lot size required is 2.5 acres for suburban district where no urban services are available. Commissioner Corn, what was your position on this one?
I feel that it complies with the minimum 10,000 square foot for suburban, since it has a will serve letter from Mountain Springs Water and Southside Water and Sewer District.
I agree.
Okay. I think
I also accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section by adding the comment that Commissioner Corn made that there is also a will serve letter for the Southside Sewer and Water District for the sewer service, because I don't think that was noted in this component of the review of the staff report.
okay, I agree with the board on that one. 12-620, general easements, constraints, reserved land area to be shown and marked on the plats.
I believe on this it is in compliance, as well as all easements and constraints, wetlands, and reserved land is clearly marked on the plats.
I concur. I also accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section, which includes conditions of approval.
I agree. 12-621, lot design, depth width ratio of not more than 3.2 to 1 for lots less than 300 feet wide, and not more than 4.2 to 1 for lots more than 300 feet wide. Angle of intersections with fronting road between 85 and 95 degrees for lots with less than 100 feet width.
I find this to be in compliance. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section, which also includes conditions of approval.
I do as well.
I agree as well. 12-622, submerged lands, not to be counted towards density calculations.
I find this one to be compliant. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section.
I agreed with that on submerged lands.
I do as well.
Urban services, 12-623A, for lots less than 1 acre in size, urban services are required.
I believe it meets this requirement as we stated above and in the standards review.
I agree with Commissioner Corn. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section, which includes conditions of approval.
I agreed. Urban, or 12-623, water supply, lots to be served by a connection to an existing public or private water system.
I think that does comply, as we stated earlier, as there is a will serve letter from Mountain Springs Water.
I agree and accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section, which includes conditions of approval.
I agreed as well. 12-623C, sewage disposal method for all building sites as approved by the Panhandle Health District and/or State of Idaho may be provided.
I believe this also is in compliance, as they have a will serve letter from Southside Water and Sewer District stating that they will serve these locations.
I agree. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section, which do include conditions of approval.
Our next item,
Commissioner, do you also agree?
I do, but
I know you're
Okay.
focusing on multiple things, just wanted, just
just
didn't want to miss it. I didn't want to miss your,
No, you just can't help when it flashes across the bottom and you're like, are you kidding me? All right, yes, I do. I do agree on sewage disposal. 12-623.D, fire plan, fire risk assessment of fire risk, fire protection plan, defensible space plan.
I agree that it does meet the requirement, as in the standards review. A fire risk assessment has been submitted. The subdivision will be served by a public water system, Mountain Springs Water Corp. Mountain Springs provides fire flow to developments within their service area. The development will include 3 new fire hydrants. There is also an existing hydrant at the intersection of Bottle Bay Road. The hydrants will be spaced per fire code standards and are capable of providing minimum pressure and flow requirements.
I concur, and also note that there are applicable conditions of approval that I accept.
I agree. Can I, on the, just one second, I wanted to check
Sure.
one thing, because I know that we got a comment from Chief Armstrong on fire. And if I recall, he gave some suggestions that were not things that are enforceable by the county, but just some concerns. Am I think I'm right on that.
I
did
recall
have a
something
comment.
along those lines as well.
Just want to make sure that,
I don't think there were any conditions.
there are thoughts of what we could do, but not that something that the board could require, so I want to make sure.
Yeah, the only thing that I saw that was an applicable requirement was under point 1. It said it toward the end. It will be a requirement that these roads meet the requirements of the 2018 International Fire Code to include turnarounds. And as I recall, which is in the record, per the initial hearing, the applicant presented information on that. I asked questions to clarify compliance with that fire code, and that information was, in my opinion, answered satisfactorily.
Yep, thank you. I wanted to make sure I
Yep.
commented on that aspect of it. Okay, next one is 12624A, road name, unique road names for new roads.
I believe they met the requirements, as Bonita Bay and Fiesta Shores are currently bonded for and under construction. Their names have been approved as found in SS 0002-24.
I concur, and also, again, will note that there are applicable conditions of approval that I support.
I agree. 12-624-B, road standards, road to be designed to meet private road standards of BCRC Title 12.
I also agree that this is in compliance. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section.
I do as well.
So do I. 12-624C, legal access point to each proposed lot for lots less than 5 acres in size, direct frontage and direct access to public roads is required.
I believe this meets the requirements as all lots are proposed to have direct frontage and access on roads proposed to be dedicated to the public.
I agree.
All right, I agreed as well. Public frontage, 12-624D, for lots less than 5 acres in size, direct frontage and direct access to public roads is required.
I find this to be in compliance. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section, which includes conditions of approval.
I do as well.
I agree as well. Trails and parks, 12-625, Bonner County Trail Plan, public access, parks and facilities.
I feel that this is in compliance as Bonner County currently does not have an adopted trails plan. This project is not adjacent to any public access points of interest or points of ingress and egress.
I agree.
I concur. 12-626B, conformance with environmental standards. Wait, I think I skipped.
I think natural
A,
hazards
natural
first.
hazards.
Yeah.
Subdivisions to be designed around identified natural hazards.
I find this to be in compliance. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section.
I do as well.
I struggled with that only a little bit, but I think I landed on yes, only because I was thinking about the road issue.
Okay.
That came into play when I was thinking about it. All right, 12-626B, conformance with BCRC 12.7, conformance with environmental standards.
I also find this to be in compliance, and I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report.
I do as well.
I agreed. 12-642A, application content, application form.
I find that this is in compliance as these elements are all included in the submitted preliminary plat.
I concur.
I agree. 12-642B, application content, preliminary plat prepared by Idaho licensed surveyors showing parcels to be created.
I concur, and that this is in compliance based on the findings of the staff report.
I agree.
I agreed. 12-642B1, plat content, subdivision name, geographic grid, north arrow, and vicinity map, vicinity road pattern. I believe this was in compliance.
Yes, I do too.
And I accept the findings of the staff report.
All right, 12-642B, plat content, boundary line of tract to be subdivided, intersection, property lines, abutting roads, names and addresses of adjoining owners shown in their respective places of ownership on the plat.
I find that this is in compliance as these elements are all included in the submitted preliminary plat.
I concur.
I agree. 12-642, plat content, location, dimension, and area of proposed lot numbering.
I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section, so it's a yes for me.
I do as well.
So did I. 12-642B4, plat content, location, dimensions, and tentative names of proposed streets.
I believe that this also is supported because the plat exhibits two 60-foot dedicated rights-of-ways. The street names are Benity Bay Lane and Fiesta Shores Drive.
I agree.
Okay. 12-642B5, plat content, sufficient contours to show the shape of the land and extending at least 100 feet beyond subdivision limits.
I find that this is in compliance as the plat shows the contour lines for Fry Creek and the artificial high water line. None of the proposed lots have frontage to any water bodies.
I concur.
12-642B7, existing location of water courses, or I said the wrong one, sorry. 12-642B6, plat content. Sorry?
Nope, sorry, I was just confirming we were on the same number.
Yep, sufficient, now you. 12-642B6, location of water courses, floodplains per firms with BFEs. Now it's your turn.
I find this to be in compliance. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section.
I do as well.
I agreed. 12-642B7, plat content, existing wells, springs, wetland boundaries, wetland delineations, drainage channels, overhead and underground utility lines, structures, sanitary sewers, and culverts within the tract.
I believe this is in compliance. A wetland delineation report has been submitted with this application, and a note of the plat indicates that there are no wetlands are present.
I concur.
I agreed. 12-642B8, plat content, proposed method of water supply, sewage, and solid waste disposal.
This is a yes for me. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section.
I do as well.
I agree. 12-642B9, plat content, all easements of record, including sufficient data to identify conveyance.
I believe this is in compliance as note 10 of the plat indicates the conveyance of all easements.
I agreed.
I concur.
12-642B10, plat content, purpose, indication for parcels reserved for public dedication or common use of property owners.
This is a yes for me. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section, which does include conditions of approval.
I do as well.
So do I. 12-642B11, plat content, statement for intended use of parcels. I found it is in compliance.
I concur.
I do as well.
And I accept the findings of the staff report.
12-642C7, road design and profile, preliminary road design and profile prepared, stamped, and signed by Idaho licensed engineer.
C2.
C2?
He said C7.
Oh,
Just want
okay.
to be correct.
Okay, C2.
C2, I see two. I find this as being compliant. A preliminary road design and profile plan prepared by James Sewell and Associates dated July 15th, 2024, was submitted as part of SS 0002-24. Plans have been reviewed by Bonner County Road and Bridge Department. The improvements are currently bonded for under SS 0002-24.
I agree.
I agreed. Application filed 12-643A in accordance with 12268.
I'm a yes on this. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report and find it's in compliance with this code section.
I do as well.
I agree. 12-643B, public hearing in accordance with subchapter 2.6.
I find this compliant as a public hearing has been scheduled as required and in accord in subchapter 2.6 of Title 12.
I concur.
I concur. 12-643I, validity of preliminary plat. I found this was a valid preliminary plat.
I
Did as
agree.
well.
I accept the findings of the staff report, and also which includes conditions of approval.
12-644, improvements plan to be prepared by a registered civil engineer, 2 copies to be provided.
I find that this is in compliance as the project has been bonded for improvements through planning file SS 0002-24 with conditions of approval.
I concur.
I agree. 12-645, standards for review. Let me go on to.
So when you're ready, I'll.
You can go ahead. I'm just going to go into the code when we go to the.
So this
codes.
one is a yes for me, based on the agency comments that are in the record, including the no comment from ITD, and the no TIS requirement from Road and Bridge. And I went and looked more closely at the Lake Ponderay School District comment letter, and they encouraged voluntary support from the developer. And the preliminary plat as proposed, for me, the vehicle trip generation calculations that I reviewed and the conditions of approval that are proposed, I find compliance with the standards of review set forth in this code section based on those items.
I find it compliant as well.
12-642, I found the preliminary plat content of application was in compliance.
Were you on 12645?
Did I say the wrong?
You said 42. I just wanted to be sure you were,
Let me
that's
go
the
back
one
to
you
that.
were referencing your
Yeah,
notes on?
645, yep.
Okay.
645, sorry. Flipping back to different screens here. All right, final plat, 12-646.
I find this in compliance as it's not applicable at this stage of the project with the conditions of approval.
I concur.
I agree. 12647 endorsements on final plat.
And I find that this is also in compliance for the same reasons. It's not applicable at this stage of the project, along with the conditions of approval.
I concur.
12647 endorsements on final plat.
I think that was one we just did.
I'm trying to fill one in that we're all agreeing on while flipping back to mine
Gotcha.
back and forth is what I'm doing.
Okay.
Sorry, 12-7.1,
We'll all keep each other on their
Yep.
shorelines.
I find this is in compliance. The subject property does not have any water frontage or contains any water bodies.
I concur.
So on these ones, I was putting not applicable. But I gotta change.
Yeah.
Okay. 12-7.2, grading stormwater management and erosion control. Applicability, all new subdivisions subject to provisions of Chapter 6 of this title as amended, and all new planned unit developments subject to the provisions of Chapter 2, Subchapter 2.5 of this title as amended, except as provided for in subsection 12720.3J of this subchapter.
I'm a yes on this one. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section, which does include conditions of approval.
I do as well. The applicant did submit a stormwater management and erosion plan, and it was stamped by Idaho licensed engineer, and a surety has been submitted and approved.
I agree. 12-7.3, wetlands, wetland delineation, wetland buffer, and setbacks.
This is also a yes for me. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section.
I agree.
I do as well.
12-7.4, wildlife.
I find that this is in compliance. There is no local, state, or federal agency has identified presence of any critical wildlife habitats on the site.
I agree.
I concur.
12-7.5, flood damage prevention development to occur as per BCRC Title 14.
This is a yes for me. I accept the findings and conclusions of the staff report for compliance with this code section.
I do as well.
I agree. 12-7.6, hillsides geotechnical survey requirement.
I feel that this complies as the site does not contain slopes of over 15% grade. Geotechnical survey is required per Bonner County Revised Code 12-762A when natural slopes of greater than 30% are present.
I concur.
I agree. All right, comprehensive plan analysis, 12-643G, property rights. First policy, we have to follow the Attorney General's checklist regarding property rights components of the county's comprehensive plan for all land use decisions. 2, for all land use decisions, findings of fact and conclusions of law should be adopted that reflect the justification for exactions, conditions, and restrictions, and should confirm that a taking of private property has not occurred. The property rights of the applicant, adjoining, and nearby landowners in future generations should be considered, as well as short-term and long-term consequences of decisions. 4, Bonner County should review all rezoning requests, downzoning, and upzoning pursuant to Idaho Code, Title 67, Chapter 65, Local Land Use Planning Act. The approval of conditional rezoning or denial of a request for rezoning may be subject to regulatory taking analysis provided by Idaho Code, Section 678003.
I find that this is not in conflict, and would like to adopt the staff report.
I also find it's not in conflict. For me, the proposed land use complies with the intent to support property rights and to meet the needs of the community in future generations by approving higher density residential housing in areas that are designated by the comprehensive plan as suitable for such use. I find that the proposed subdivision is not in conflict with the policies in this portion of the comprehensive plan.
I concurred with that analysis of the property rights sections. Population policies, do you guys want me to actually read all 3 of them?
I don't feel the need for you to
Okay.
read the policies.
Okay.
Mm,
You can read, you got glasses?
No, I'm fine.
It's 2-1 now. Obviously, I asked because I wanted to stop reading, so it's 2-1 both. All right, policies for population. do we feel that this application is in conflict or is not in conflict with the policies of population?
So for me, it's not in conflict. The proposed land use complies with the intent to meet public and community needs by approving higher density residential housing in areas designated by the comprehensive plan and zoning ordinances as suitable for such use. I find that the proposed subdivision is not in conflict with the policies in this portion of the comprehensive plan.
I'd agree.
I concur. School facilities and transportation.
So if you don't mind, I'll jump in on this one too. I find it's not in conflict, and we have an interesting letter from the Lake Ponderay School District. But I do agree with the conclusions of the staff report. And also the letter from the Lake Ponderay School District has suggested that the developer provide voluntary financial support to the school district to help with infrastructure costs for the growing school population. I support this approach, and I find that it's not in conflict with the policies of this portion of the comprehensive plan. But that type of recommendation is not something that the county would actually be involved in administering.
I'd agree.
I feel like the impact to schools has to be considered, but I actually have taken a lot of this school district as it's a canned request for donations to the school and not really a review of the individual projects. And I would like to see, so for that reason, I am not considering this as a letter specifically addressing the subdivision and its impact, but an overall request for funding on the part of the developer. Had this been more detailed about the project and the impacts of the project and gone into that type of detail, I would have taken a different position. But I thought about this because I've seen the difference between this letter and other letters that have been written, but I think it's the same appeal to get a donation, not really a specific review, because they also did not provide really specific data that would make me feel like it was really looking at the subdivision, like this number of houses anticipated this, and this is what my numbers would be pushed to. So for
Yeah.
those reasons, I want to recognize that they did shift the way they communicated, but to acknowledge why I'm not taking that as a reason to say that this subdivision is negatively impacting the school, because they did not take those steps to provide that argument.
I came to a similar conclusion because I did a double take on that letter because it did appear different from some prior letters we've received from the same school district. So I went and reviewed it again. And upon reviewing it again, I think I have a similar conclusion that they said specifically they were opposed to the proposed subdivision. But the part of the reason why they said it was they said due to lack of capacity at several school sites. But then they never stated which sites or how that would be impacted by this particular application. So that's where I came to the same conclusion, that I don't think it was specific to this application and subdivision. And then in the same letter, it just felt a little contradictory because they very correctly accounted for the fact that in Idaho, school facility development is primarily through bonded projects, through a levy that gets passed. And that they're not allowed to use impact fees for it. So I understand their conundrum, but I don't think it's based on the information they've provided the county's place to try to enact some sort of a penalty, if you would, as a fee or something through the county to address that. I think it's a bigger conversation that has to be looked at, but I can't find any specific details that lead me to believe that this particular subdivision is creating an isolated issue.
And I thought it felt like it was more of a using this as an opportunity to find funding versus what we're really needing the school to do is to sit down and look at which school is going to be impacted if you were a little bit more, if it was focused on the question that we're asking. So I think we're all in line with saying that it is not in conflict with school facilities.
I agree.
Okay. Economic development.
I didn't see anything in here that would be in conflict, so I would like to adopt the staff report.
And for me, I'm also saying it's not in conflict. My reasons are I find that none of the policies in this portion of the comprehensive plan apply to the proposed residential subdivision. So I find it's not in conflict. appreciate some of the information that gets provided in the staff report, but I just didn't feel like it was an applicable aspect, so I just don't think it applies.
And I put not applicable on mine. Land use. For me, it was the same as the one above because it's commercial and this is residential.
I agree.
Okay. Natural resources.
I also find this is not in conflict. I agree with the conclusions of the staff report, and I find that the proposed residential subdivision supports the intent to encourage clustered development per policy 3. As such, I find that the proposed subdivision is not in conflict with the policies of this portion of the comprehensive plan.
I also find it's not in conflict.
On this one, my comment had to do with the difference of the sizes of the places around them. That was something that members of the public brought forward as this is a lot smaller. And so what I kind of gave myself a question mark on was the preservation of open spaces, but I could see how arguably that's one element of it. But that was where I kind of gave a discussion on this is a different size. I think their minimum out there was 1 acre is what most people had discussed. And so because it had that preservation of open spaces is where I kind of gave I don't feel like it's largely out of line with anything. I just noted that was a comment that people made in that hearing.
I noted the same comment, excuse me, and so I looked at the area again, and some public comment had indicated that the proposed quarter-acre lots that would be included were out of character with the Bottle Bay area. However, as I look, there is the Harbor View development just to the northwest across the road, and that subdivision consists of 20 lots that are similar in size to the applicants. So as I look at it from an immediate area perspective, there are actually a large variety of lot sizes. So I can't make the statement that it's inconsistent with the area. It just depends on which particular parcels you look at in the area.
And I only looked at what was presented in the hearing. That's where my comment comes from.
Right, and we have the map that was looked at in the hearing, so that's in the record.
I mean, the development, that specific development, I don't remember. Did we review that development in our hearing?
We looked at the area map at times in the hearing, so all of that information was shown.
Next section, I think we're all in agreement on it. That was my comment on
Sure.
natural resources. Hazardous areas.
So for me, this is not in conflict. I agree with the conclusions of the staff report.
I do as well.
I did not see it by the definition because we're getting close to where we hit that road question. When I look at this specifically, that comment doesn't fit in the hazardous area section, so I said not in conflict on that.
Agreed.
Public services, facilities, and utilities.
This is not in conflict for me. I agree with the conclusions of the staff report, and I find that the proposed residential subdivision supports the intent to encourage high-density development within the boundaries of existing sewer and water areas per policy 1 of this section.
I do as well.
I agreed with that one. So our next one is transportation.
Yeah, and this is where I again went back and really reviewed the record again in further detail. And I do agree with the conclusions of the staff report upon that additional review, since ITD raised no concerns in their comment. It's not that they didn't comment, they specifically came back and said they had no comment, which means they had no concerns. Road and Bridge indicated that a traffic impact study was not warranted. And since Bottle Bay Road is a county-owned and maintained road with remaining capacity, I find that the proposed subdivision is not in conflict with the policies of this portion of the comprehensive plan.
I find that it's not in conflict as well.
I didn't take that position on that section, and where on the transportation policies, it requires a long-term transportation system plan should be developed and regularly updated to ensure reasonable levels of service can be maintained in the future, and that needs for future road extensions or transportation corridors are identified as early as possible. But there, in this particular section, it isn't just that, I can't accept that ITD just doesn't answer or says no comment, because our own road and bridge gives a very interesting comment on this road. And when they say, they agree that no traffic study is needed, but they recognize the increased safety issue related to increasing the density. But what they argue is that it's unrealistic to think that the developer should have to fix the problem that exists on 95. And that didn't remove the safety issue that exists on 95 with the increased development. And the question that I couldn't get past is not that is it the right time to develop knowing that has not been fixed? Because there's recognition on also the part of ITD and Road and Bridge that the solution to that intersection lie with ITD doing the major overhaul of the entire corridor, including adding frontage roads and interchanges in accordance with their recent concept plans. And so to me, that recent concept plan also addresses the fact that ITD has given a response on this area because it's part of their concept plan. The problem is that their concept plan doesn't have them fixing that corridor in time for this development to go through without this being a safety concern. And that is a hard one, because we're not just, that what I feel like on this question, what would be being said is, because it is going to take ITD a number of years to fix that road issue, and it's all within the requirement of ITD, and they have their concept plan, that we're going to build it now because that would take too long to fix, and it's still, that doesn't remove the safety aspect of the road. Because that's where I had issues on this, because everything else on this plan that's where my only sticking point was, because the plan is a good plan. The actual applicant and the community are actually in agreement with what the issues on this plan are, and it is not within the control of the developer, and it's not within control of the neighbors. It's in control really of ITD in that 95 area. And so I struggled with, do you impact by increasing the density in an area when you know that is not going to be fixed? Because our Road and Bridge acknowledged that it needs an overhaul on that corridor, and we have to, at what level does that,
Yeah.
it's that, how do you say nothing on that? Because I have a hard time on both sides of this one. I have a hard time saying no to a development in this case, and I also have a hard time saying yes, because I know if I say yes, we're going to increase the problem that we all agree exists. ITD does actually tell us that in their concept plans, that there's a problem. And that's part of when I think of even looking at the comp plan, the future plan doesn't mean we're ready to move that direction today. It's in the future, and are the conditions met that make it a safe development on there? And that's where I struggled with on this particular plan, was ITD, Road and Bridge, and knowing that it does need that repair. Not all the other stuff on this plan, although I understand people not liking the size, it fits the subdivision. It's this thing that they're not in control of fixing, but everyone agrees it needs to be fixed. Even in our hearing, the developer agrees it needs to be fixed.
And I think you heard that at the beginning of the hearing, that was my starting point as well, and the deliberation was, I agree that the application by the developer meets all the criteria of our Bonner County Revised Code, and then it was this question that I was also trying to deliberate and figure out, and that we started our conversation on, if I recall.
Yeah.
And that's why I just kept going back to what's in the record and what do I see the record telling me. And there's a trip generation calculation that shows AM peak vehicle trips of being 17.7 vehicles per hour, and PM peak vehicle trips from this proposed subdivision of being 23.5 vehicles per hour. And those are really low numbers, and they don't cross any thresholds to trip the traffic impact study. So I went back and looked at that because I was wondering, why wasn't a traffic impact study called for by Road and Bridge? And is that something that I thought the board should consider requiring, because we could? But then when I looked at the trip generation numbers, I'm going, I understand now why Road and Bridge didn't recommend it. And if ultimately we don't have any stated capacity issues with our county road, Bottle Bay Road, that this subdivision would connect to, it's the concern about the state highway capacity issues. And that's an ITD jurisdictional issue, and they're the experts, not myself. And so I personally took a step back in my thinking and said, let me go back and see what's in the record. Do I see anyone saying that there's something further that needs to be considered with that intersection? And I agree that, there's the intent, as they've indicated to the public now, that of a larger improvement plan. But if they believe there was a safety issue, they are the ones who should be telling us that something needs to be done from a permitting perspective for this development at the Bottle Bay Road and 95 intersection, is the way I'm interpreting it. So if they had not responded to our request for comment, I would be concerned and want to have a response from them. But because twice they responded the same way and said that they have no comment, permitting isn't requiring anything, I feel compelled to accept that they've decided that there's not an issue for us to address with regard to this project at that intersection.
I interpret it the same way. ITD does have a concept plan out there. We don't know if it's ever going to come to fruition. It's been changed at least once so far. I believe this is the second one, but none of that was entered into this hearing either for us to consider. So I think we're supposed to make our decisions based on what was presented to us, and that was not. And I would also agree that they had ample opportunity to let us know, and they did respond, and they said that they had no concerns. Every intersection is dangerous, and I'm not sure if adding more vehicles, this is just my opinion, it's not based on anything in the record, but just adding more vehicles to something doesn't make it necessarily more dangerous. It's the drivers that actually create the safety concerns. So, and again, that doesn't even come into play here because it's just my opinion. There's nothing in the record on that.
So when you look at the email from Road and Bridge, Matt specifically responds saying that the argument can be made about how problematic the Bottle Bay and Highway 95 intersection is in regards to safety and congestion. It continues to say the solution to that intersection lie with ITD. So I agree on both sides. I see the argument on both sides. The problem I have is, well, was there an obligation on Bonner County to say, wait, we are the ones actually recognizing, because in a way I could see ITD has answered by saying this is our concept plan, we need to fix it. The idea that ITD is going to fix all roads, it's going to be on level of severity. Did we owe, and this is where some people have asked the county this question, did we owe a bigger dialogue with ITD saying we're going to do this now unless you tell me something otherwise, versus here's my email that we just sent that's not really eliciting it. And for me, if I had something from ITD that says, yes, it's a problematic intersection, we are planning to fix it, if we had something more than just sometimes what is felt like just an email that goes out, but I would feel comfortable with it. I just feel uncomfortable on this section because Bonner County is saying that there's a safety and congestion issue on this road. Bonner County is saying the person responsible to fix it is ITD, and Bonner County is agreeing that it is in the concept plan. So did we owe a little bit extra from my view. I feel my vote owes a little bit extra because nobody is disagreeing actually with what Bonner County is saying about this road. The developer agrees, and so does the community. So before we increase the density on that particular road that we're agreeing will increase some safety and congestion, do we owe an extra step that says to ITD, you've got this in your concept plan, but this plan wants to move forward now. It meets all of our other stuff, like something more than just a quick email. That's where I get a hang up, because otherwise, this plan is not a bad plan. It's that road, and that road is out of the county's control. I just want to clear the safety aspect of it, because that safety piece is where the rest of the people outside of that development, that's where they're existing. And I want to make sure that my decision doesn't negatively impact what we've already identified. So do you put more people on a road that we're saying has a safety issue because somebody asked now? Or should we wait and say, look, I would like ITD to say, we've reviewed this plan, we know the board needs to make a decision, and at this time, this would be our decision with respect to the safety aspect. That is actually my only hangup on this particular file. Because it's not about fairness, because there's equity on both sides, and everybody agrees that this is a problem. I don't know how this development would impact the safety and congestion and what degree that would be. That's an ITD question. I think ITD, I could argue they answered by saying, yeah, we got to fix that, it's in our plan, it's not your number yet. So I think that all of the arguments are valid. I just don't know how you decide on that one for me.
I understand where you're coming from. Like I said, I was in a similar position at the start, but for me, the logic path is our county road and bridge looked at it. They looked at the trip generation information. And then there's 4 criteria that our county road and bridge looks at to decide whether or not they're going to recommend a traffic impact study be done. One of those criteria is looking at adjacent intersections. And so if in that review, they thought there was enough of a threshold of a safety concern, then they could have used that to require a traffic impact study. So the trip generation numbers, though, are below a threshold to trigger a traffic impact study. And so they didn't find any of the other criteria significant enough to require the traffic impact study. So because they didn't find that that was required, and because ITD responded but did not indicate any need to look at permitting for this project, that's to me where I'm, like I said, if somebody was silent in the record, just didn't respond, I'd be more concerned with regard to the roadways. But because both agencies that are associated with both roadways did respond, I'm comfortable relying on their responses to make the decision.
Okay, so I think we're going to be a 2-1 on that one. Only because I just can't, even on our road and bridge, you can't, your trip generation will increase once we put the development in, which will increase the safety concern question. And so that's where I'm just wanting the safety aspect to be addressed before that. But I accept, I think we're just at a different end of how you respond to it, but the
Right.
question is the same across this,
Yep.
across the
Yep, we
board.
have
But I
a
think
slightly
we-
different perspective on how to approach it, I think, at the end.
I think we've deliberated enough to know that we're going to be a 2-1 on transportation.
Okay.
So it'll be a yes. Recreation.
I find that one's not in conflict, and I agree with the conclusions of the staff report.
I concurred.
I do as well.
Special areas or sites.
I also found that one to not be in conflict, and I also agree with the conclusions of the staff report.
I do as well.
I concurred. Housing.
I find that this is not in conflict as well and would adopt the staff report.
I agree.
I agreed. Community design.
I find it's not in conflict and agree with the conclusions of the staff report.
I do as well.
I agreed. Agriculture.
I find it's not in conflict and agree with the conclusions of the staff report.
I do as well.
I agreed. Conflicting evidence in the record.
So we've already discussed it, but I actually listed on my worksheet the Lake Pend School District letter because it conflicted with itself in its own statements, in my opinion. So I found that to be somewhat problematic to try to figure out how to look at. But we've already discussed that through our deliberation. Again, I think the ultimate conclusion is that they did not provide specific information as to how this application would cause their school capacity issues to be exacerbated. And this idea that they're requesting voluntary financial support of a development, I have no problem with, but that's not a county issue to try to enforce. And then we spoke already about the neighboring public comment. And as I mentioned, there is what was visible on the map during the initial hearing, as therefore, in my opinion, part of the record. We could see the size of parcels in the area, and there is that Harborview subdivision to the northwest across the road. That's very similar in the number and size of lots, in my opinion, to the application. So there's consistency of context. So I think the conflicting evidence is what some of the neighbors stated about a lack of consistency of the context of the parcel sizes in the area versus what I can see on the map.
I did not put the school, and maybe this is a planning clarification. I didn't put that letter as, I use that as my interpretation of it. Is that what you would be considering as a conflict in the record? Of just an opinion where the opinion itself is?
So Jacob L., Planning Director, typically what we're looking at in these types of aspects is if somebody or an agency or a public comment had challenged the staff report view or commissioner's view of a standard that applied to the project. So if, in the analysis, it came to, this is the road design and this is how it meets the code, and someone, either an agency or an individual disagreed with that analysis, that would be a contested fact in the record. And Bill, feel free to jump in if you want to explain that anymore.
I just wanted clarification because I did it your way of what you're saying are there two people arguing in the record versus I'm not accepting the opinion of that. So I wanted to make sure I'm responding to this worksheet as we're kind of going over what the worksheet
Guys,
is.
hear me okay?
Yep.
So yeah, I just wanted, when we were working on this template worksheet, I wanted to leave a space at the end to account for arguments that were raised throughout the hearing process, typically during public comment, but also in written comment from agencies. Respond to that weren't captured.
No, you're going in and out.
So just wanting to make sure we capture we respond to all the possible arguments. That's it.
All the possible arguments is what I heard.
Respond to all.
I think we deciphered what you were trying to say, but you got a bad connection. So
Yeah.
it's an opportunity for a freestyle of what we may not have been able to capture above. All right.
Yep, that makes sense. And just a reminder, we do need to come back to Idaho
That's it.
Code 67-6513 at the top of the worksheet.
Yes. Commissioner Korn, do you have any conflicts on yours?
No, I wrote schools. We addressed that.
Schools or
Schools.
conflicts? Okay.
So on Idaho
Alright, so-
Code, yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry, you didn't bring us there yet. I'll wait.
Oh, no, you're good. Go 67, 65, 13 subdivisions.
So that's a yes for me. I believe the application complies with Bonner County revised code sections that are applicable to the subdivision development and provides mitigation where necessary as part of the details of the preliminary plat and the conditions of approval as proposed by the staff report and as amended by this hearing. And I say and as amended by this hearing because I have a proposed, I would like to propose one more condition of approval that has not yet been discussed. So would you like me to mention what that is at this time?
Let's just do the question and then we can go through conditions of approval because that way we answer this one and then we're off the worksheet.
Okay.
Commissioner Korn?
So I do believe that it meets the criteria for 67-6513 as well.
I gave a comment on this one only because I wanted to address, I did not, the school letter aspect of it. And so in the 6513, it says that each such ordinance may provide for mitigation of the effects of subdivision development on the ability of political subdivisions of the state, including school districts, to deliver services without compromising quality of service delivery to current residents or imposing substantial additional costs. And I think it's important to note that the letter received is is not being considered as making this subdivision in violation of Idaho Code 676513, although they specifically mentioned that the quality of schools is going to be reduced by it. They didn't provide any evidence to substantiate a statement, and they didn't specifically address a subdivision. They essentially, I took that letter as addressing anybody that moves into these school districts is going to cause that problem, which is not what this particular code is asking us to look at. It is asking us to look at this subdivision and that impact, and the letter fell short for that. So I wanted to specifically call out that that letter, although it references that, for me, did not meet that qualification.
I agree, and I think that's a good clarification.
So, okay. All right, so before we move into, let's do deliberation for suggestions of additional things that you might include before we call for a motion then.
That would be great. So as I looked through the proposed conditions of approval per the staff report, which consist of A-1 through A-14, I agree with those conditions of approval. I have one, what I believe to be a clerical error that should be corrected under A-5. The final note says, in addition to this, the project shall meet at least one of the subconditions as noted in points A through E above. However, I believe it should be referencing 1 through 5 above just because of how it was formatted. So I think it's just a formatting issue, but we should clarify that so we're referencing the correct subsections. And then I would like, yes, sir.
Could I ask you to repeat that number again
Yes, sir.
for me? A5?
A-5.
Yeah.
As it continues onto the next page, page 24. A5 has 5 subsections.
Right.
And then the very last paragraph under A5
Okay.
says, in addition to this, the project shall meet at least one of the subconditions as noted in points A through E. And there are A through E would be 5 points, right? Subcondition points. But what's above is just formatted as sub-bullets 1 through 5 as
Oh, I
compared to A
gotcha.
through E. So I think it's
I
just a
wasn't
typo.
following it.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's just
the
a
problem.
format typo.
Okay.
So I agree with all of the content and details. It's just the formatting that I want to correct. And then there is a will serve letter from the Southside Water and Sewer District, and that letter had conditions contained in it for the will serve. And so I would like to create an additional condition of approval, A-15, stating that urban sewer service shall comply with all the conditions listed in the will serve letter from the Southside Water and Sewer District dated 2/7/2025. So I just think we missed that since they gave stated requirements in order to provide the will serve.
So do you mind repeating that again?
Sure. Urban sewer service shall comply with all conditions listed in the will serve letter from the Southside Water and Sewer District dated 2/7/2025.
Okay.
So I just wanted to capture the fact that they provided that letter and we relied on that as part of our agreement that we met certain code conditions, but that letter had conditions attached to it that needed to be complied with for the will serve to take effect. So I think we need to incorporate that into the approval.
I have a question on that, only because sometimes when you start a project, you find something else. If you're that specific, does that remove the obligation to follow anything additional that that district might have? Because when we're accepting the will serve letter, it's pointing to the letter that they already gave us. But if they get in, because this is in anticipation of what you gave them, but if something comes up in that, and the sewer district or water district needed something else, if we're specific to a letter that is before they started the program or process, that might be too specific, if that makes sense.
It was limits?
Yeah, because if, I don't know what could possibly happen, but if once they started that project and the water district said, wait, we need you to do something else that they didn't anticipate was going to occur, that motion only requires the subdivision to follow the letter that was written when we make the decision versus just pointing that they've got a will serve and that's between them. I think that, for me, it looks like it might be a little bit too much micromanaging, because that then, if you accept the will serve, we're just accepting that water is available. How they make that water happen is between the developer and the water district. Any comment from that, Bill? I don't want to be so specific, because then that says come back if a condition changed that nobody could have anticipated until they started digging. Bill?
Hear me okay, or should I call on my phone? I'm in the office. I don't know why you can't hear me.
We can hear you now. I think, just talk, we'll see. How's
Okay.
that?
I think I tend to agree with Asia on this one. I
He
think-
said this one like that was so odd. Did anybody catch that? Or just point that out, but go ahead. I can't hear you anymore.
just requiring currently stated and not getting into the addition satisfies the county's concerns.
See how God works?
Not have internet over there or what?
He's trying to prove why he should get to work.
Evidently.
Or I can call on my phone really quick. If that'd be
We're
helpful.
going to accept the opinion that you'll agree with me on
We
this
heard
one.
that part.
And
Well, I do want to discuss it further.
maybe your phone, maybe call in on your phone.
Yeah, if you could try to call in, Bill. I just
Can
want
we
to be
get the
sure that
phone?
we're not missing something.
We'll have to call him. Somebody, do you have a sticky fingers
potential
number?
condition we could add there that might address the concerns.
Because my contention is simply that if you look at the preliminary plat, we have a Panhandle Health District item, but this is a sewer district issue. And so I don't think we're correctly addressing the applicable agency that is the one that's granting the authority for the connection. And so
So that's one condition you can add is adding a sign off on the final plat from the sewer purveyor.
406
That way,
3.
it puts that onus back on them that they won't sign the final plat until they're satisfied, so.
that would probably be more
Yeah, it's
to the
broader.
Commissioner Williams' perspective to have something broader, but right now I don't think we're capturing it correctly with the way the preliminary plat shows it.
And I don't think that'll be a problem for,
Because I see your point, but if you look at the preliminary plat, it's PhD listed, and they're not the sewer district that is offering the connection. So
Hello.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, I was on Zoom on the phone. I could see you guys, and I was raising my hand. Was that not?
No, you weren't there.
Alternate
We don't
universe.
see you, but we can hear you now.
Oh,
Well, now you're
there you
there.
are.
Okay,
This is what happens when I come work in the office. You see,
Oh, nice try.
I'm owed money because I
we
said
don't-
you were going
we
to try
don't
to
buy
do
it.
that to prove work at home, but we don't know where you are.
we're calling IT right now, just so you know.
Because technically, if you're over there, you could have come over here for this meeting. But go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Back to you, Bill. Do you still agree with me, or did that change?
So, Brian, just for my edification, would you just please just kind of try to sum up your position one more time so I can just make sure I'm capturing that
Yeah, so
appropriately?
So I looked at the preliminary plat, right, and there's a sign off from PhD listed as a requirement of preliminary plat, but the actual sewer district has to provide a sign off to make a connection to their system. And they have the will serve letter that has conditions attached to it in order to provide that connection. And so I want to be sure that we're capturing that in the approval so that we don't miss that requirement, because I don't see that anywhere in the conditions of approval unless I've just simply missed it. So I want to make sure we somehow appropriately capture the need to get approval from the applicable sewer district.
Let me try to approach it this way. If those conditions of approval are in that letter, that's the only viable method for them to secure. How could they possibly not meet those conditions later on and still have a viable subdivision? Like, is there any possibility for that could happen? Because then they just wouldn't have the approval from that district, right?
I think you're right practically, but then why do we require sign-offs from any agency on our preliminary plat? Like, you know, we're trying to show that we're, you know, meeting compliance, isn't, I mean, that's my perspective. I just want to, so we have all of these other requirements that have to show that they've been met, so why would we ignore the the sewer requirement?
I guess
Well-
it has to go through final too, though, so I feel like if you drill down into what the other people are, like the will serve is what we require. The content of the will serve is the relationship between the developer and the service provider. My concern is there's going to be a final, but if you are so specific as to say every one of those conditions needs to be met, one, it may be that they say, well, we started working on this and you don't need to do all of those things. Or maybe you need to do some of those things. We're not allowing the flexibility that exists between the developer and the service provider. All we're supposed to hear, and my understanding is, we just need to know that that service is available to meet that condition. And that's, all of the rest of the stuff is between the developer and the provider.
So are we saying that condition A1 is essentially for water and sewer connections? Like, in the end, if you want your final plat approved, you're gonna prove that you have those two urban services, otherwise you don't get your approval? Is that ultimately how it's structured?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
so,
final plat is when they've done everything and they've completed the subdivision, then they're bringing that. And so planning brings in and says they follow all of the conditions of approval, which would be inclusive of water, because our issue isn't whether or not, or sewer, it's not how they get it, it's just that they got it.
Right.
And how they get it is between them.
I agree, we just have to be sure that they have it.
That's what the
Yeah,
final plat would
I
do.
feel like that's always been my understanding of the way this process goes, because we ultimately, like you said, we reserve the right on final plat. If they don't meet the conditions, then it's not something we're willing to sign off on, right? So I think at that point, we're making the assumption that they're going to be, they have worked with and satisfied any of the issues with that particular district. Otherwise, they wouldn't be eligible for final plat at all. And I think that's the kind of just an axiom of the process.
Okay, now, yeah, I see what you're saying. I guess it's more about the wording of A1 for me. We're just referencing kind of what the standards are to meet the minimum lot size requirements versus saying you shall provide urban water and sewer. I don't know, it's a very passive way of stating something that seems when it's a requirement, but if that's not problematic legally, then
We can't fix everything.
You know, I appreciate your attention to detail, certainly, but I don't see I don't know if I see the risk or the concern there. I think that the way it's drafted adequately protects the county's interest.
okay.
Trust me, it was hard for him to say he agreed with me.
I could accept that. Like I said, I don't, in technical documents, I don't usually like to accept passive language. So I want it to be active and clear what the requirements are.
I
But
think we're done with you. You've got- we've
the
got-
two of you are giving me the look that you're not following my logic on this, so I'll move on.
well, and if it helps.
I've been outvoted.
I think that your issue is addressed. It's not not addressed. I think that it's actually worse. I think it makes for a problem for the developer, because I can see where this is going. If you get so granular into how they move forward versus we just need them to have water and septic out there. And that means they would have to keep coming back to us to say, oh, well, this part of the letter changed.
No, I understand where you're coming from. I'm just looking at the language of condition A1, and
That's different here.
it's a very,
I have just a thought. I'm hung up on something I think is not unreasonable, but I also think if we had an answer that would actually help those who are not supportive of development no longer have an issue. If we had a safety question answered, is there, and it doesn't have to be, because accepting the direction that we're going to go, I guess my comment is, I think it's still beneficial for the county to address when we are identifying a safety issue, but you didn't give me a response to an email versus taking the step of saying, this is the number of cars we're going to increase here. Do you see an increased safety concern until you can get this corridor fixed? Or will that bump this corridor up to a higher number for you to get fixed? I think that's a beneficial thing to know, because that is my only hangup of increasing the safety, because I heard that not just from community, I heard that from all sides of this argument. That was just my kind of question, because if I had emailed ITD and said, look, you guys just said no issue, but I need you to specifically answer, you've identified this corridor needs to be repaired, a development wants to go in then here, that will increase this, do you see an increased safety concern, or is it still the same for you? If they were to say it's the same, there's nothing wrong, there's no speed bump for me, but that makes a speed bump for me. Anyhow, that's my comment and my deliberation. We don't have to keep going down the rabbit hole. That's just my feeling on that. Bill, do you want me to hang up on the phone on you?
So if you guys could just recognize when I sign in on Zoom via my phone, if whoever's running the Zoom meeting can see me there, that's my preferred option, since the internet here on the computer is not being helpful. So I can sign right back in on Zoom.
I can see you on Zoom now.
Okay, great. Let's do that.
All right, bye. Anyhow,
So commissioners, did the answer on water and sewer get answered? Because,
It did.
okay, because there's also a bond in place for water and sewer, and when we go for, or when the applicant would provide as-bills for everything that was bonded for in order to have that bond released, it has to go through the engineering department, and they would see a sign-off from DEQ in this case for extensions to the main, and that everything was constructed correctly.
No, understood. Like I said, at the end of the day, it's not worth belaboring. The other two commissioners, I think, don't find it concerning. I just don't like passive language when it comes to essentially contractual style documents. I want them to be active and clear what the expectations are. I understand we're covered, but just not my preferred method of doing it. So that's fine. I'm moving on. And Commissioner Williams, to your point, again, I don't want to ignore.
That was just my comment.
I don't want to ignore, a
Yes.
safety. Anytime we're talking about safety, public safety, I don't want to ignore that, but that's why I started from that perspective at the initiation of the hearing, when we got into deliberation. And as I went back through the record, I just don't, when you look at the trip generation numbers, and then again, our own county thresholds for deciding when a traffic impact study is warranted, I couldn't find anything that led me to believe that trying to push for additional feedback beyond what was already given was warranted from my perspective. So that I don't want to discount what you're saying. I just have I've come to a different conclusion when considering it.
Okay.
Don't look
Any further
to your left.
deliberation?
I'm trying to climb out of this rabbit hole. No, I am good, thank you.
Roll call vote. Is that where we are right now?
I think we need a motion.
We need him out of the rabbit hole. All right, so
So to be
I'm
clear-
guessing, is it okay that he reads the motion then, or
I don't
no
have a
left
motion.
looking? You do have a motion.
Somewhere's in here.
So
Do you
I
want
do
me to read
think,
it?
Yeah.
whoever reads a motion.
You're reading the motion, he said.
I am?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to mention before reading it that I think we have to add somewhere in the motion, because I don't see it unless I'm missing it, that the motion would be contingent upon the conditions of approval A1 through A14. I'm not sure we have the language in there somewhere. I don't see it. Like I said, I may very well be missing it, but I don't see where it states that the motion includes conditions of approval. Just show me where I'm wrong. I'm happy to admit it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I was just hitting the record button when you said that. Okay.
You should have.
I was
I'm only
late.
saying it once.
Too late. Okay. Well, I'm going to add it in there then, and hopefully it won't become redundant. Yes, thank you. Good point. The bullet points.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I move to approve this project, file S0005-24, I can speak clearly, 24, Bahia del Sol, second edition subdivision, requesting the creation of 23 residential lots on a 6.77 acre property, zone suburban, and located in Section 2, Township 56 North, Range 2 West, Boise Meridian, Bonner County, Idaho, contingent upon the conditions of approval A1 through A14 as amended, finding that it is in accord with the Bonner County Revised Code as enumerated in the following conclusions of law. Conclusion 1, the proposed subdivision is in accord with the purposes of this title and of the zoning district in which it is located. Conclusion 2, the site is physically suitable for the proposed development. Conclusion 3, the design of the proposed subdivision will not adversely impact Bonner County's natural resources as identified in the comprehensive plan. Any adverse impacts or potential for impact shall be mitigated as a condition of approval. Conclusion 4, the public and private services including but not limited to water, sewer services, solid waste, fire protection, emergency services, and school facilities and transportation will serve the proposed subdivision are adequate for needs of the future residents or users. Conclusion 5, the proposed subdivision will not cause circumstances to exist that will cause future residents or the public at large to be exposed to hazards to health and safety. Conclusion 6, the design of the proposed subdivision or related improvements will provide for coordinated access with the county system of roads and with adjacent properties and will not impede the use of public easements for access to or through the proposed subdivision. The proposed transportation system is designed to adequately and safely serve future residents or users without adversely impacting the existing transportation system by reducing the quality or level of service or creating hazards or congestion. The proposed subdivision, conclusion 7, the proposed subdivision is designed to comply with the design criteria for the subdivision set forth in subchapter 6.2 of this chapter. Conclusion 8, the proposed subdivision is not in conflict with the policies of the Bonner County Comprehensive Plan. This is based upon the evidence submitted up to the time the staff report was prepared and testimony received at this hearing. I further move to adopt the reasoned statement and discussed in deliberation at this hearing and the analysis as set forth in the staff report or as amended during the hearing, and direct planning staff to draft a reasoned statement to reflect this motion as set forth in Idaho Code, Section 67-6535, have the chair sign, and transmit to all interested parties. This action does not result in a taking of private property.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any further deliberation by the board?
None?
I'm just going to comment on where my dissenting problem is, and it comes in the conclusion 5, where the proposed subdivision is stated that it will not cause circumstances to exist that will cause future residents or the public at large to be exposed to hazards to health or safety. And given Road and Bridge's comment that safety hazard and increase, it just doesn't, I can't say that one, and I can't say that the county doesn't owe a little bit of extra steps to elicit an opinion to make it so that I can answer that question, because I don't get to call ITD and say, I need you to do this. I think that this is one of those cases where I think the developer has put together a fantastic plan. I think that that safety issue, I think this is an example where the county can take an extra step and say, hey, we asked you this question, but we want you to give us an answer, like more than just a simple email, because I think it helps the developer also get the support of the community when we can say, we took these extra steps and ITD says this is not going to increase this problem. This is when the problem that we all have will get fixed. That's where I fall short on this one of not being able to commit, because I cannot say that it doesn't expose a health and safety aspect when our own letter does. We're just kind of, but I accept that it's a difficult spot to be in, but I think that's where my issue is. And that's what LUPA requires me to also consider is the health and safety. Any further deliberation?
I understand your position, and I interpret the information in the record differently when it comes to whether or not there's an identified safety risk at the intersection.
Commissioner Korn?
Call the vote.
Roll call vote.
Don't give him a gavel.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
All right, it is two.
We have another one.
Oh, that's right.
It'll be
I forgot.
What?
What? You just said that out loud.
Thank you, sir.
It will be.
Can't believe you said it. This is the one we already approved.
Yes. So Commissioners, in front, Alex Fan, Assistant Director. So in front of you is a memo to adopt the ordinance that was, or from the file that was approved on July 23rd to amend the commercial use table in BCRC 12-333, to remove RV parks and campgrounds as a conditional use in the rural agricultural, forestry, and rural service center zoning districts and prohibit the use within said zoning districts. What's going on?
There's no signature on this.
Oh, well, I figured just the ordinance would be.
He's just doing an explanation. of-
Yeah, this is more just an explanation rather than it would show up as on the board agenda.
Oh, do
like for
you
the
want
business
the ordinance
meeting.
back then?
Yeah, we'll want it, he's got it.
Yeah, well, I have another copy.
I was wondering what I was supposed to sign, so you
Oh,
had it.
sorry
That's
about
what it was.
that. It'll be for all commissioners to sign,
Yeah.
since we have to record this. What the ordinance is showing is that just the change in the use table for 12-333, where the only applicable, or the only zoning districts that will allow recreational vehicle parks and campgrounds would be suburban, commercial, recreation, and Alpine Village. And it has removed the use from agricultural, forestry, rural, and rural service center.
You'll put the ordinance number later.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions for planning?
None?
All right, are we ready to entertain a motion then?
I don't think it'd be proper for me to make the motion.
Why?
I'll let Commissioner Donkey make the motion.
Because he was a dissenting vote.
That's just kind of weird.
Yeah, that would, I can understand.
All right,
Okay, based on the information before us, I move to adopt the ordinance for AM 0002-25 to amend the commercial use table in Bonner County Revised Code 12-333 to remove RV parks, campgrounds as a conditional use in the rural agricultural/forestry and rural service center zoning districts to prohibit the use within said zoning districts.
I was having trouble following you because you read the letter part, not the motion part.
Yeah, I have a suggested motion at the bottom of that.
I was-
That's why I passed it.
I'm sorry,
out.
I
I'm
thought I had
sorry.
to make it up. I was
thought
so
I got
thrown
the
off
wrong
with the
paper.
No,
format.
it
I didn't want to interrupt you.
Well, I was like, what, am I not? So,
Okay, so you want to vote that down and I'll make a new motion?
well, I
There was
didn't
no
second
second.
it, so.
Oh, there you
start
go.
over.
So it dies on the floor, huh?
It's dead.
No respect. Okay,
Look, it
I-
starts with a suggested motion.
sorry, I was thrown off by the change in formatting. I thought I had to make it up. I move to approve an ordinance of Bonner County, Idaho, the number to be assigned, citing its authority, and providing for the amendment of Chapter 3, Subchapter 12-333, Title 12, Bonner County Revised Code, as presented in the July 23rd, 2025 hearing, and providing for an effective date.
I'll second the motion. Any deliberation by the board?
I'm going to say my failed motion was far more detailed.
Noted.
Right.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Dumpy?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
No.
Motion passes. Anything else? All right, it is 2:25 and this meeting is adjourned.
Sorry, Alex.
You should have done this one first, it would have been easier.
You do have good attention to detail, though.
You mean when I missed the entire motion?